So welcome everybody to the first Tech Talk of 2022. We've got Trent Mclaren from DiviPay. Hi Trent, who
Hello.
is a bit of a veteran in our industry and is now, did you start DiviPay? Were you one of the founders?
I didn't start DiviPay, but every role I step into, it does get asked a lot, but I think it's just because I spend so much time talking about it to everyone, which I'm okay with. But I work directly with founders for DiviPay. So I didn't found it, but I work very closely with the leadership team here.
Yeah. So DiviPay, digital company cards, very easy to use, set up, authorize, high level of security. It's making waves out there. I'm sure people are aware of that. And so it's fantastic that we can see this today up close and personal. So I will hand over to Trent. And as usual, people, if you've got questions, type them in the chat or Q&A. And we will either answer them as we go or we'll get to them at the end, and there will be time at the end for more questions. So thanks, Trent. Take it away.
No worries. Thank you, Joe. And hello, everybody. Hopefully you can hear and see us okay. As Joe said, the chat and Q&A is working nice and well, so feel free to just say hello and tell me where you're dialing in from. Although it looks like I'm in a small, stuffy room, I'm actually up in the Gold Coast in Currumbin. So I live a nice remote working life at the moment, like most people. The weather is slightly muggy. It's a little bit grey and overcast. I had this chat with someone this morning saying, I always thought the Gold Coast in summer was somewhere I wanted to be, but it's just always rainy. Noella, you're also from the Gold Coast. Do you experience this? I think it's rainy and muggy, and it's the opposite of what I think the Gold Coast should be in summer. And it turns out winter is actually a much better time to visit. So if you're ever considering visiting, don't come in summer. It rains, it pours all the time. My pool is constantly flooded with leaves. I spend more time scooping things out than I do actually swimming in it, which is okay. So awesome to be able to talk to you all about DiviPay today. Normal for this time of year coming winter. Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Noella. I totally agree. Hey, Shirley from Perth.
It is my favourite place to go in winter, I have to say, is northern New South Wales, between there and Sunshine Coast. I love all that stretch. So, hopefully
I agree.
I'll get there.
I agree. Well, I'm only like 2 kilometres off the border.
Oh, Currumbin's lovely.
I love it. Yeah. I won't put photos up of where I live and how close to the beach we are because sometimes it's just not fair, but someone's got to do it. So for me, fortunately, that's me. So looking forward to showing you and running you through DiviPay. So for those that know or don't know me, I've been in and around the accounting and bookkeeping space for nearly 10 years. So Joe, I am feeling a lot older when you say a veteran of the industry. And for 10 years isn't necessarily a lot for some people. I know there's a lot of people that have been a lot longer than I have. In my roles, I've worked at companies like Intuit QuickBooks. I used to speak at some AAT events back in the day when I was at QuickBooks. I worked for a small little startup called Practice Ignition, which is now taking over the world, having just raised $65 million themselves at the end of last year. I started with DiviPay in the middle of May 2021, so last year, coming up to nearly 9 months. In November last year, we just secured a $20 million Series A capital raise. One thing you'll find about me, I love going to work with businesses that have great products, great ideas that can actually make a difference and help. I'm super passionate about what DiviPay enables and can do, and it's something you won't see much of in Australia. It is new technology, and I'll explain why in a moment. I just put this little headline together before, and I've changed it a lot as you do in 9 months, but when I think about DiviPay in a sentence, what does it mean? How does it work? It's going to help you streamline your card spending or business spending and your bill payments. And the flow on of that is it allows you to stop chasing employees for receipts, and that's DiviPay. And you'll see why very much in this as well. If you've got any questions as we're going, any questions about DiviPay, how it works, how's it different to something else that maybe you're thinking the bank does, or throw it in. I'd love to answer any of those questions and queries. You'll find very quickly, I try to keep this high energy, very engaging. I want you to have a fantastic time, and we're going to start doing that right now. If you are on social media, I spend a little bit of time on there. You can get me on LinkedIn or Twitter, Trent Mclaren. And again, if you are on there and you want to check out DiviPay, you can go to divipay.com, or again, our Twitter and LinkedIn accounts. In this session, I want you to come out of this knowing what are the problems that we see as a tech company and what are we trying to solve. I'm going to give you a deep dive of DiviPay. I just tested it out before. My mobile app is working through to Zoom, so I'll be able to show you exactly how this works, both in the web browser and on the mobile phone. And if you've got questions at the end, you can throw them in. I'm also going to help you understand how you can get your own DiviPay account for free to use in your own business if you'd like, which is pretty cool. And we've got a couple of hundred partners now running and using DiviPay, and they love it. And you'll see why as we go through. So problems we observe, why do we exist, is the first thing I want to start with. When you're building a tech company, it's really important that you don't just have an idea and go, oh, that would be really useful for me. Would it be useful for everyone else? Does everyone else want to use this product, and will they love it, and will they continue to keep using it? When the founders of this business sat down to look at, why they should build DiviPay, they observe a lot of overlap and gaps that exist within a finance function. So when you think about spending money, when you think about paying bills, approvals, all the expense management piece that comes after the money being spent, and then how do we get all that information accurately into your favorite accounting software, it's actually not that simple. And largely because working with the banks and their legacy systems they have on cards, credit cards, and everything else in between doesn't necessarily sync up nicely with your expense management software. It means you're reconciling multiple cards in your accounting software. And sometimes you're getting receipts and sometimes you're not, and you've got different apps for different things. We really our goal is to help simplify and bring all of this into one place. We want DiviPay to be the place where you do all of your business spending, your approvals, the procurement, all of your expenses, your receipts, your bills can all happen inside DiviPay. Now, I don't just mean extracting that information. I mean bills going in, approving and paying from DiviPay. I mean everyone in your team or your client's team getting access to their own dedicated company card to spend using their mobile device, where all of that information is automatically coded and sent into the accounting software, chasing that employee for the receipts the moment they make a payment, because all of this lives in one place. That's DiviPay. That's our vision. So when we think about where are we headed, a lot of people know us because we have a digital company card, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. But the way I like to think about our future is that we are all about business spending. So if that's cards, bills, maybe it's payroll one day, maybe there's lending that gets thrown in there as well. DiviPay should be the place that you go to manage all business spending with complete transparency. When we look at all these different inefficiencies, we also know that there's a lot of different people that play a role in managing these things. So when I'm looking at payment processes, that could be the CFO, strategic finance partner. When I'm looking at the compliance and financial reporting and making sure everything's being coded properly, well, that's our wonderful bookkeepers, our technicians, our accountants at that level. And in the middle, you end up with advisors and consultants trying to help on approvals, procurement, all the data automation and extraction. There's a lot of different roles that occur. And typically this happens in spreadsheets. It happens in tools that we all love, right? Like I'm a fan of what tools like HubDoc and Dex and Approval Max and all those things do. But there gets to a point when we think, hold on, there's a lot going on here. And they're not always talking to each other the way we need them to talk to each other. Again, I'm a fan of all of those things. When I think about the vision and the future of DiviPay, again, we wanted to try and help streamline this in one place where everything's talking and pushing into your financial reporting on the other side. So how does it work? So it's pretty simple. We create a set of budgets and rules in DiviPay. So I can say, everyone on the call today can have a company card with $50 each, and you can't spend over that. And I can have it automatically top up every week, every month, or I could set an annual budget and say, don't spend over this for the year. If you need to make top-up requests during that year, that month, that week, we can automatically approve them and top up your card, your account, if and when you need that adjustment to happen. So the moment I create a budget, I'm automatically issuing cards to team members, and they can access and start spending straight away. Why that's really crucial is that most banks will take 2 to 3 weeks just to set up and approve one person for one card. If I want to adjust the name on that card, cancel that card, increase the limits, decrease the limits, that can also take 2 to 3 weeks for each change I want to make. This isn't anything this is largely to do with the compliance and red tape that the banks have built their business on for the last 100 years, and ever since cards became a viable product for them. So we play in the same space. We follow the same rules. We have all the same compliance obligations, but we're using tech and automation to help get around the things that slow down a lot of our banking partners. And when our business clients experience a 2 to 3 week delay for something so simple, in our mind, something so simple, there's a flow-on effect of what that causes for their business, the stress, the anxiety, and what that doesn't allow them to do. So if you think about DiviPay as the place where you can instantly issue cards, but also instantly delete them. Anytime someone says to you, hey, I want to borrow your card so I can spend $20 for a sec, that's a bottleneck. You as the partner or the owner of a business is the bottleneck for payment spending, because we're relying on that piece of plastic with 16 magic numbers to facilitate transactions. If we took that out and said, well, hey, actually, I'm happy to put some better controls in place that's fully transparent, where everyone gets access to a card with a set limit, and I can see every single payment. Now I'm giving responsibility to my team. I'm trusting my team to help the business continue to move forward. And it's not all hinged on me as the business owner or the accountant or bookkeeper to authorize that transaction. And that's our real goal. That's what we're trying to help free up. If you speak to any one of the 1,300 customers in Australia that use DiviPay, they will all tell you the same thing. It's helped us streamline our finance function. I'm no longer relying I'm no longer the bottleneck that stops business payments from going through. And I can see with full clarity every single payment for the first time in my life really clearly at any point in time of day that I want to. Once we issue these cards, you start tapping and paying with your phone, and that's what you're going to see from me today. So if you're using Apple Pay or Google Pay, then this will work available on your phone. Shirley, great question. Does it have rewards points connected? DiviPay is not a rewards points platform of sorts, and I'll dive into why in a moment. We're not a credit provider. We don't. When you set up with DiviPay, you're not applying for a line of credit. It's not a home loan application. There's no guarantees, no guarantor checks required or anything like that. You're funding it with company money. This is not a credit. This is a digital debit cards that you can issue to any of your teams in that sense. So when you start tapping and paying with your phone, we then automate the expense management on the back. So when I tap and pay at a cafe around the corner, I know automatically to code that as a meal because MasterCard's told me that it is the cafe and this is the merchant code associated with that cafe. I can calculate the GST automatically on the transaction. And because I know DiviPay knows that we've made the payment, I can start chasing that employee for the receipt the moment the payment takes place. And this is where the disconnect happens between spend management systems and expense management systems. Expense management systems don't know when a payment's taken place. It takes the receipt once it's been uploaded, and then it starts asking for information. Because DiviPay is further up the chain of the transaction, we help create the transaction. We know when to start chasing for receipts, and we'll do that automatically. We'll start chasing a person for that automatically. So what is a virtual card? If you're unsure, virtual cards, they're digital. They're not too different to a plastic card, except that it's on your mobile device. They're completely safe. They, in some cases, more safe than when you tap and pay with your plastic card for under $100. Virtual cards rely on biometrics. So we talk about facial recognition. We talk about fingerprint identification as your PIN number. Now, you can use a PIN number as well if you'd like with DiviPay. But you'll find that your facial recognition or your fingerprints are a totally safe way for you to process and transact through our platform. It's fully protected by MasterCard, so Apple Pay, Google Pay, in their fraud systems. So if you ever go through a chargeback or an unfortunate transaction does occur somehow, this could be if you've spent money online, that website has had a leakage or something out of your control, that card information is now compromised. All of this is covered under MasterCard's protocols. So you following, again, same rules that the banks follow when fraudulent payments take place. You can use DiviPay to both pay in-store or online. It doesn't have to be one or the other, it's both. You can also use it for subscriptions. So if you're talking about software, if you've got Xero, Practice Ignition, maybe it's Dext, all the different software and apps that you use in your business, you can create individual cards for each subscription with a unique limit. So again, if one of those cards is compromised, it doesn't impact my whole workflow. We all know what happens when we lose a wallet with all of our credit cards. It's a very frustrating time because I have to update all of my systems with new cards, new information. When you set this up with DiviPay, if I did lose my phone, my wallet, if one of my cards is compromised, I'm only updating one card for one supplier, not all cards, if that makes sense. Lastly, and probably my favorite, there's no time-consuming paperwork. You're not visiting the bank to verify and issue your cards. DiviPay is all done online. In some cases, I can get people set up in 5 to 10 minutes. If you're a sole trader, company, PTY, LTD, 5 to 10 minutes, you can be up and running, money in your account, issued to your entire team. It's super, super quick. Now that I've spoken about it.
Trent, there's another question from Shirley there. If a person uses a credit card, can DiviCard pay into the credit card?
Hey, Shirley, great question. Yeah, let me just tackle that. So at the moment, we don't fund with credit cards. We fund with bank deposit. So you're transferring company money in. You can't transfer credit card points in. We are adding that fairly shortly, and this will come up in our bill payment feature that I'll talk about in a moment, where you can fund bill payments using a credit card. So if you're trying to get your Amex points or whatever it may be, that's where that will be useful. So that is a coming soon piece. And I'll touch on that when we go into the demo.
It might be premature, but given that it's funded by a bank with real money in it, what happens if that account runs out of money?
Then the payments, so it's, yeah, just kind of
just a rejected payment.
Like it just rejects, yeah. If there's no money, there's no money, right? So it's there's no loans, no credits, no overdrafts.
Yeah.
If the tank's empty, then you're out of gas. But at the same point, we run on an NPP platform, so it's all OSCO payments. So if I find my account is empty, I can just top it up automatically, very quickly. So we're now in DiviPay. The first thing I see on my left is the account balance. So this is the real money that we were just talking about then, Joe. So as long as my account balance has money in it, when we start making payments, the money is effectively coming off of this account balance. Think about DiviPay as your spending account. So I've got my normal business account with Westpac, St. George. All the income goes into my business account. I create DiviPay and we set that up as all of our spending accounts. What you can then see here is a list of the different budgets that I've created and started adding my team members to so they can start spending money. So I've got $50,000 in, but what I've then done is created a Xerocon conference budget, which no one has been to for a long time. And that budget is split between 3 different people. And we did that as a one-time only budget, and it would have been around $2,500 when it first was set up. So within that, I can only spend what's in the bank account. So if this was $1,800, to your point, Joe, and the account balance is 0, well, those payments will just decline. These budgets are just set up as your limits of what you can spend as long as there's enough money in the bank. Let's go and create a new budget. So if we just said this was the AHC webinar, and every month we said we want this to reset to $2,000. It does not accrue. So if I've only spent $1,000, it doesn't mean I get $3,000 next month. It resets to $2,000. Payments are made by the people that I select. So I've got 4 different people. and I've got approvals, which is made by one person. So if I want to approve a top up of money, or I've got any bill payments that need to go through, this person is going to approve those payments or approve those requests for more money. Now, if I want to set an individual limit per person, I can do that as well. So clicking here, it automatically splits it out and says, okay, well, 2,000, they can spend 500 each per month. But if I want to go a little bit less and say, okay, well, James doesn't need as much, but Joseph does. Let's go 200, 800. You can split it however you like. As long as it all adds up to $2,000, I can separate out how much each of my team members can spend on these cards. Once I hit create, this would have then automatically sent all 4 team members an email to say, hey, you've been added to the AAT budget and you've got X amount of dollars to spend. So for James, it'd be 250. For Mark, it's 800. That would be straight on their mobile device. As they start spending money, and you can see here the pie chart started to go down a little bit, all the transactions are recorded against that person. So in this case, I can see all the payments Kimberly's made against this budget specifically. But if I want to dig a little bit further, I can click on my transactions tab, and this is like my bank feed, but for DiviPay. If I go filter that by person and say, show me all of Kimberly's transactions, and then I said, show me all the tax invoices that were not uploaded, really quickly I can see Kimberly's payments, the tax invoices that she's done nothing with. And if I want to export that as a CSV or a PDF and email her and say, hey, Kimberly, you owe me 4 transactions. Can you just log into DiviPay and either upload them or tell me what's going on with them? The other option to that is that if I just want to follow up all the transactions not completed, I can say status incomplete. I can do the same thing. Now, when we talk about integrations, so accounting software integrations, really important, and obviously the one that most people get excited about. We create 2 types of transactions into the accounting software. One, we create the bank feed transaction that happens in real time. So in, say, Xero, for example, you create a DiviPay expense account is created automatically. This acts like a clearing account. You do not have multiple cards to reconcile. It's just one account. So all the bank feed transactions are created instantly. Because it's a MasterCard transaction, it sits in a pending status until that payment has cleared. Once the payment's cleared, we then create the spend money transaction with the uploaded receipt coded to the GL that was determined by the category or by the team member, and that will all flow and match off against each other in the expense account. It is a similar experience in MYOB and QuickBooks Online. The receipt you can actually see a copy of in the account. So in this case, someone's uploaded a bill. Let me see what this one is. That's also the same bill. It's also a demo account, so I never know what I'm going to pull out. Here we go. And a copy of the receipt can be uploaded as well within the transaction. That's the transaction feed in the bank feed. This is already gives so many business owners so much more visibility on, well, who's been spending, what did they spend it on, what was it for, where's the receipt? It's all in one place. All of that is in sync to your accounting software, again, automatically. If I just show you the mobile app, because I want to give you a view of what happens. Okay. Let's try it again. Just thinking, cool, we're here. So you should now be all able to see, this is my mobile phone. So I've got a little cable connected and we're streaming the mobile device through to Zoom. What you can see first here is my partnerships budget. So this is my real everyday account. I use this for anything partnerships related to DiviPay. Sometimes it's marketing, advertising, flights, trips, Ubers, you name it, everything. But as you saw in the other screen, there's multiple budgets. So I could be added on 3, 4, 5 different budgets, and I am. So if I'm trying to determine where am I spending money from, all I need to do is click on the partnerships drop down. So you can see there's a little arrow here, and that shows me the different budgets that I can spend on. Celebration budget, I've got a weekly coffee budget, demos. Partnerships is the one I use day to day. Now, if I'm going to pay in store, All I have to do is click Pay in Store, and that launches my wallet. Find my DiviPay card. I've just done Face ID. Now that's just all happened very quickly, but I'll show you again. I'm going to click on this first DiviPay card, and you're going to see a little icon that says Face ID. That's the facial recognition that, wrong card, that Apple is doing. So it's recognized that I am me. It is me doing the Face ID. All I need to do now is tap and pay with my device. So it's only at that point that a payment can go through. So if anyone's ever unsure about payments being unsafe or anything like that, even if someone stole your phone, they need your face. They can't process a payment without your face or your fingerprint. So it's very, I've not come across a case where it's compared to someone stealing your wallet and just tapping the plastic on the terminal for everything under $100, 20 or 100 times, you wouldn't be able to do that with a smart device like this. One of the other myths I see on virtual cards and digital cards, a lot of people think that I would need a Wi-Fi or a phone connection to pay with my card. That is incorrect. So I can actually have no Wi-Fi whatsoever and still tap and pay with my device. It's pulling off the same signal that you would get. So when you tap and pay with the plastic, obviously you're not inserting it, you're just somehow magically the FPOS terminal knows that I've tapped my plastic card. The mobile device sends off the same signal from your phone that you would use for a tap and pay type transaction in that scenario. If I want to pay for something online, I just click Pay Online. That then gives me the card number and the CVC number automatically. So I've got that information ready to go. And that number is different for all the different cards I've got in my system. Once the transaction happens, you can see here I've got an outstanding expense for Uber. So again, this came in automatically and it's been pestering me for like a week and a bit, but I'm glad I left it there because I can show you what that looks like. Automatically, it's categorized as a taxi. Now, in my settings, I'll have said anything that comes through a taxi needs to go through to a particular GL code into, say, 0, for example. If I've got tracking categories, I can add that to the bottom of this transaction. I can put in and just say, I'll just say partner meeting Sydney, and I just need to upload a copy of my receipt, and that transaction is good to go. If I look at all of my completed ones, this is my coffee from the other day, same thing, GST has been put in, it's categorized as a meal, I've put in the description. So what we've now done is combined the expense management component you may see in tools like a HubDoc or a Dext or something along those lines, pairing it in with the payment system where you're actually making your card payments from. So you're not double handling in multiple systems, you're using one system to cover that whole spend and expense management piece. If I wanted to request more money, I can say, go to my request tab, say, please, can I have $1,000 for AAT webinar, choose the budget it needs to go to, and then say request. The owner of this budget, the manager of the budget, the person that's listed as approvals will get a notification on their device. They can approve it, decline it. If they approve it, my card is instantly topped up. If they decline it, I'll get a notification to say it hasn't gone through and this is the reason why. Last but least, subscription. So I mentioned before, there's two types of cards. You've got cards you can use to pay in store. You've got cards you can use to pay online. In DiviPay, we've got a few different subscriptions that I manage and look after. Specifically, I guess Canva is an easy one. That's the graphic design tool. So what I do, I've got a budget of $45 a month, something along those lines. And I will have that in Canva. So Canva can never charge me more than my allocated budget. And if for whatever reason this card was compromised, I can turn it off at any point in time. And that's how a subscriptions feature works. That's the mobile app. If there's any questions on the mobile app, please let me know.
Yeah, that's great to see. Super easy to use. Nice and clean. Looks good.
Very clean, very simple. And that's the one thing you're going to get, like spending money. We all know how to spend money. We're just giving people a better way to do it with better tools to manage who can spend the money and everything else that flows on the back of that. Good question.
Sorry.
I can tackle that question if you like. No, there's no fees per transaction. So we're not a credit card. It's a debit card. So you're only spending your money. We don't charge per transaction. We're a software company. We charge on a per user basis. So and I'll dive into that in the end a little bit more, but for the people that have access to company cards, there's a per person per month fee to access that, if that makes sense. So that's both the spend management and the expense management side all in one. So when you start comparing your cost to DiviPay, think about how much it might cost you to use an expense management software per person. Compare that to what it would cost to use DiviPay for both spend and expense management. And you'll find, if anything, DiviPay is either cheaper or similar to what you're probably already paying for the expense management software. Joe, did you have a question in that? Sorry, or were you just going to refer to Noella's comments?
I'm wondering if you're able to show us how it looks in Xero or Mile. Just, how does that all flow through at the other end?
So I can't do it in the webinar,
okay,
because I don't have access, but I do have all of these recorded in 4 5-minute videos in our certification course.
Okay.
So anyone that's super interested to see how we flow into Xero and Mile, I've got all of that documented, recorded in our DiviPay cert course, which is completely free to do. Again, doesn't cost you anything. It's 70 minutes worth of time, but you could skip ahead to the Xero and Mile videos. It's a lot of me. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of me in these videos. So if you've enjoyed this so far, then you may enjoy the certification course as well. But we find it, I think 85% or 90% of people that do the course come out of it going very, very confident to set up. We survey everyone, obviously. But yeah, they're confident they can set up a client or two on DiviPay after doing the course, which is super. It's awesome. It's just a really cool and easy way for us to standardize and streamline all of the training that goes with it. One of the things we talked about a little bit at the start was bills, and I just want to cover that. It's relatively new in DiviPay, and there's a lot more coming to it. So I know some of the questions that will come up on this, and I'll try and tackle them as we're going. But what we're trying to eliminate here is ABA files. So rather than having all of your bills go into one place, maybe that approval goes into something else, or its approvals are done on email. Maybe you put it into a spreadsheet, send it to the client reviews it. You then create an ABA file out of the accounting software. You upload that to the bank. You then process and run the ABA file. Let's picture a new way. Let's pretend that all of your bills, invoices can come into DiviPay. The information is extracted automatically. And from that, I can choose either a bank transfer or BPay. So if I'm paying another bank account, cool. If I need to pay it through BPay, I can do that here as well. And this money will transfer out of DiviPay based on the scheduled date. So in this case, the scheduled date was the 30th of the 10th. If I want to move that forward a date, it can, whatever I want it to be. The expense details, not too different to what you would have seen before. I put in the budget, the category, which links to my GL codes, a description. The person that is the manager, the approver for the budget, that person gets a notification and says, hey, can you approve this bill? There's 2 buttons, approve or decline. Once they approve it, DiviPay will automatically pay this bill based on the due date from DiviPay, from our DiviPay bank account. So we're not jumping between 2 or 3 systems. We're not creating ABA files. Some bookkeepers, accountants love the idea of what this will allow them to do, where they can actually run a bill payments service, where they code, review, push all the bills through. The manager or the owner just has to review and go, yeah, approve, approve, approve. Those payments will get paid on the scheduled date. Really useful if you're doing cash flow forecasting or scheduling as well. We think, okay, we're going to push a few of these bills forward or whatever it may be. Any questions on the bills, Joe? Did that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you've kind of gone to where I was going to ask a question about how bookkeepers and accountants are using it with their clients. Like it's sort of easy enough to say, hey, client, we've got this great app that I think would be really good for you, get you set up and away you go. But, you know, the next level of that, like how are bookkeepers and accountants using it, you know, to collaborate with their clients?
So some of the accountants bookkeepers I've seen using it in really interesting, easy ways is just looking at how do we use, say, DiviPay subscriptions to automate all of the subscription payments that business has, where it all flows into the accounting software automatically. So it's looking at what payments can we automate where we get the data and the trail of data coming through automatically. I've got other accountants that just use our bill payments product specifically because they've got clients that don't really want to manage the bills in a decent way. They want to, the bookkeeper account is helping facilitate a better process for all those payments with, again, full transparency. And the other side is it just means that you're not having to log into the client bank account anymore. I think that's the thing most people are scared of. Like, I don't want to get into the client bank account. I don't want to have read-only access. I would just much rather have an easier format where I'm not at risk of compromising a client's bank account.
Yeah, great. So, yeah, much better security all around. So, yeah, so from that, you're saying some are not using the digital card facility at all, but they're interested in the expense management.
Yeah, it depends on the client, obviously, because you might, like, I've got some sole traders that already have a business card. It's just that one person. So they don't necessarily see, well, why would I have DiviPay cards if I've already got my bank account card? But they don't have anything to manage the rest of their spending. Like, they might use our subscription cards still because they want to automate all the subscription payments and put better procedures and security around all those individual subscriptions, but then also run all their bills through DiviPay as well. The other side of that is we also now do reimbursements, which operates in the exact same way, except it's out-of-pocket expenses that you need to reimburse that you don't want to put through payroll. It's the exact same process where a team member will come in, they'll upload their receipt and fill in the information for the reimbursement. The very first time they log in, we'll actually ask for their personal bank details to do the reimbursement into. The reimbursement goes to the manager for approval, gets approved. Again, that's paid out, not as a payroll adjustment.
Right. Couple more questions there for you, Trent.
Yeah, Shirley, I'll tackle that last one. So they're not running two cards. Like, some businesses might already have something in place. I find as a majority, they move everything to DiviPay because they get better transparency and clarity on everything. If you're running two, it does make it complicated. My scenario before was a sole trader, one person in the business who just wanted to use bills, or the accountant set up the clients with bills specifically. When you've got bigger teams and so forth, typically the whole business runs on DiviPay. You wouldn't separate them out in other scenarios. Adiola, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, can one make adjustment to fee allocated after being allocated to a team member? Yeah, so I can update and adjust the budgets and the amount of money that's allocated to a team member. As long as I'm the manager or the admin, I can do that at any point in time. Yes. So that's our bills and subscriptions. So again, we started as a card spending product. We've evolved and now added bills and reimbursements. And again, customers are loving it and what it can do. At the moment, bills is only a single approver, not a multiple approver. So our next phase is implementing multiple approval. The other side to that is actually looking at how do we, if I've already got a system in place, how can I get bills that just come straight out of the accounting software that just need payment? So that payment needs to be approved. So it might go through, say, ServiceMate because they've got job tracking, costing, etc. into Xero. We might then take it out of Xero so that the manager or the owner can just approve and pay those bills. So again, we avoid creating the ABA file and having to run those ABA payments. that's where bills goes in phase 2.
So let's assume I do the certification. So that's going to take me 90 minutes, say, to watch the videos and get myself across the whole thing. And then I want to take it to a client. What's a typical setup time for the client, with, say, 5 people and 5 budgets, 5 projects? What would you estimate?
Less than 60 minutes. It's a pretty quick system. It's the quickest system to set up I've ever worked with. Once you transferred your money, like doing the verification can sometimes be the thing that slows people down. If you don't have all the info that we need, or we need more info than expected, we won't know necessarily the full extent of the info we need until the verification process starts. Verification is not too different to what the banks do. So when you create a bank account, they have to, and I think everyone's familiar with director IDs, will be very across. It's a similar process we go through to verify people. But yeah, I'd say within 60 minutes, it's pretty quick and simple, because once I've created the account, it takes me 5 minutes to add my team members. It might take me 10 minutes to do my chart of account mapping from the categories to the GL code. And then creating budgets. I mean, you saw how easy it was to create one before.
Yep.
So yeah, I'd say 60 minutes is probably a good time to think about in terms of setup.
Okay.
The other side of the support is that our team, so I've got a team of 5 in our accounting partner team at the moment. We act as a hand-holding concierge for our bookkeeping accounting partners. So we do have an accounting and bookkeeping partner program. Allows you to get access to your own DiviPay account, which you can use for free in your business, as well as provide discounts to any of your clients that are looking to set up with DiviPay. One of the main reasons a lot of people will look at DiviPay is because the client said, hey, we need to get new credit cards. Can you help us out? They don't necessarily need a credit card. They just need ways to spend money. So a bookkeeper accountant will say, hold on, what do you want the cards for? Is it for a new team member, or how's it going to work? Especially if they're urgent, right? They needed it yesterday. It's like, well, we'll just do DiviPay because we can set it up right now. Like, it'll take seconds and you'll be off and running. Anyone that's got payables processes that can do cleaning up with, and obviously DiviPay fits well in that sense. It could be anyone you're already using Dex or Expensify with, right? Like, that's there's no reason why they potentially couldn't be using DiviPay alongside those systems, depending on what you're using them for. Or there's a chance we potentially help streamline that whole spend expense management function. I say that with a lot of love. I love those guys. They're all great platforms and products, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, show us how easy it is.
For the client. Yeah.
Sorry, say that again.
I was saying it's just about finding the right fit for the client, like what's in the client.
Yeah. And that, of course, is, as bookkeepers, accounting technicians, that's always, what does the client need? What's the best solution for them? It's not what we necessarily want to use, but understanding what's available to make it easy for them. My question was, show us how easy, or whatever the process is involved in, let's say an employee is terminated. We're walking someone out of the building today. We got to stop access to everything.
It's 2 clicks from where I was. So I was on this screen and I clicked on the people tab.
Yep.
Team members terminated. I'm just going to click delete next to their name.
Right.
And that's it.
That's it. Oh, we love that.
That's it. So they're removed from every budget, every card.
That is great. Yep.
Even if I just want to remove someone from a budget, I can just go, cool, delete mark, can no longer spend on that. Yep. Even the other option, if you had someone where you didn't need to delete them, but you just needed to remove their card payment access, I can just go in and say remove cards. So even if they wanted to log in, they can't do anything. They can't access their cards anymore.
Yeah. So, for example, if someone's on annual leave, we can just remove those functions while they're on leave. Yep. And then reinstate it when they're back.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yep. Okay. All right. is there any other things you want to show us?
I normally just recap through the rest of it, but if anyone's got questions, please, now's a good time to start putting it in there. Good question from Noella. So the card stays there and can be assigned to a new employee. So Noella, every time we make adjustments, we're effectively archiving a card and then creating a new card. So we don't reissue card numbers to new people. We don't issue existing cards to different people. Every time you make an amendment, we're just generating new 16-digit numbers with every single iteration. Okay, so if I've got a team member that resigns, their cards are archived and no longer accessed, and they'll no longer be accessed. A new team member will get their own new 16 digits issued to them. So the balance is always in the bank account. So the budget isn't the balance. The budget is just the limit that I could spend as long as there's enough money in the bank. So even if I delete a budget, that money is still sitting in the bank account. It was never segregated to the side. It was just a limit to say, hey, if I've got the money to spend, I can, and that's it. So the recap here, there's really simply no paperwork, bank visits. You can instantly issue, pause cards with a couple of clicks. You can delete team members in a couple of clicks. You can add team members in a couple of clicks. No more card sharing. So if you've got team members saying, hey, can I borrow your card for a second? No, let me just issue you $20, go and buy what you need to, take a photo of the receipt. Thank you very much. That'd be great. Not card sharing anymore. No more staff reimbursements. So if you're reimbursing your own staff, or you've got businesses that are constantly reimbursing staff, they should be using DiviPay. This will make your life, their life easier. The employees love it. They don't want to spend their own money if they don't have to, right? Like, why should they? Why should they spend their own money if it's the company that should be facilitating those payments? And I think this is something we're very passionate about solving. Shirley, your question. So you link to the main account from the business, or do you have to make an account to deal with DiviPay? So when you create DiviPay, DiviPay is giving you a BSB and account number that is your specific DiviPay account for the business. So if AAT was the business, it's the AAT DiviPay account. They will still have their everyday business account for all the income. They're just transferring money into DiviPay for the spending. So when you sit down and forecast and balance out, well, what is our monthly spend? That money should live in DiviPay. You don't save your money in DiviPay, you spend your money in DiviPay. There's no interest rates or anything like that. I don't recommend you transfer money in that you don't intend on spending in DiviPay. That's what we're here for. We're here to help streamline all of the spending, put better processes in place around all of the spending and better data that goes with it. My other sort of point here was just on bill payments. So we automatically extract that invoice data out, and then it means you're not having to deal with ABA files anymore if you start streamlining your bills through DiviPay. And for some business owners, they actually see the full picture, right? Like, not every business owner knows where every payment's going, especially bigger organizations. We get a lot of non-for-profits and charities using DiviPay, especially because our reimbursements feature is a free feature. So if you've got non-for-profits, sporting clubs, people that you do a lot of reimbursements, but having to do it manually, then you could actually step them up with DiviPay and just use our reimbursements feature to help them better manage the finances around the club, better governance. So non-for-profits, charities, auditors, they love DiviPay. So if you're ever working in any scenarios like that, we're a perfect fit. I think 25% of our customers are non-for-profits. The rest is a mix of construction, tradies, marketing, consultants, sales reps, anyone that needs to spend money. That's our criteria, which is everyone. So yeah. Question time. I can see one came through. Oh no, that was Shirley's, Heather.
Yeah. What have you got, Heather's?
Yeah, I'm just looking at that now.
Okay.
I want to use the bill payment product for my clients. I have 10 cafes, so I need 10 DiviPay accounts. Potentially, it just depends on how the entities are set up. If they're 10 different entities, 10 different Xero files, then yes, you'd need 10 accounts. Our pricing for that, I can talk to you about. That's not a worry. Sometimes, especially when we're looking at the card side of things, It doesn't matter if you've got 5 accounts or 1 account, because we're charging per user in that sense. It works out at being a similar price. Bills is a little bit different. And Ed, yes, definitely, we can talk about pricing. Let's do that right now. So as I mentioned, we have, these are our card per user card transactions. So let's talk about that for a sec. So our starter plan, really good if you've got 20 transactions a month or less across the entire account. So very small business, small club, charity, non-for-profit, sole trader, someone that needs a card or someone that wants to separate business and personal spending, give them a DiviPay card so that they put all their business payments through that instead. That'll give you a really clean feed to work through instead of trying to figure out what's personal and what's business. Our growth plan is typically where bigger teams that spend more than 20 payments a month end up. This includes the top-up requests, tracking categories in Xero and MyOp jobs, and our subscription management feature. So being able to issue cards per software, and I actually didn't touch on that before, but this section here, this is a list of all my subscriptions. So think about it as a subscription asset register, for want of a better word. If I click on my Google account, I can see all of my payments for Google. I can pause that card at any point in time. The idea is that only Google payments should live here, and I can track that spending per month. It helps just create a really good process so that if you've got a business where everyone's signed up to lots of software, there's a good chance people double up and you're paying 2 or 3 times for the same thing. So that's what our subscription management function is. You can add 100 cards. You're not charged per card. It's just available as part of our growth plan. So that's at $17 per user per month. So if you've got 10 employees, there's $170 before any partner discounts are applied per month. Again, if you compare that with any of the expense management apps and so forth, I find typically we end up being either cheaper or similar price to what that business could already be paying for the expense management piece alone, which is quite cool. In terms of the bill payments, which was Heather, and we can jump into this a little bit more for your client scenario specifically. It's a flat $8 for the first 10 invoice payments. After that, you're billed at 80 cents per bill. So it just depends on how many bills are going through, determines the volume and the rates associated with the bills. Again, Heather, for your scenario with 10 cafes, I'm happy to talk to you about something specific we might do for them. And then lastly, reimbursements is free. It doesn't cost anything for anyone to use reimbursements. So team members can log in, upload a receipt for an out-of-pocket expense. The manager can review and approve it. That will then pay out the reimbursement to their dedicated bank account directly. I'll pause there. Questions on the pricing page? Does that all make sense? Joe, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear. And there's, a free trial, which is cool. So there's a couple of questions. Just we haven't touched on multi-currency payments, and I notice you've got your conversion fee there. So just give us an overview of multi-currency.
Yeah, so multi-currency, this fee actually all goes to MasterCard, so we don't make any money on multi-currency. Basically, it's just the conversion fee. So if it was a $100 that you're paying overseas, then there's a 2.99% conversion fee that applies to that transaction immediately. That's the only instance where some sort of transactional conversion fee takes place. We are looking at improving these rates this year. 2.99% is not bad, but we know that we can do better. So we are working on a partnership with TransferWise at the moment, or Wise, I should say.
I was just about to say they're a great alternative. So yeah, to link in with something like that would be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good to see. Now, earlier you kind of mentioned getting our own account and that we can experiment for ourselves with that. So how do we do that?
Best thing you can do right now, email me, trent@divipay.com,
right,
and just say, hey, Trent, I'd love to get into the partner program. I want to get my own partner account. You put that in an email and I will send you all the things you need to do. to make that happen. We start by verifying your account, obviously, and completing the certification course. So as long as you're keen to do the certification course and you're keen to get access to DiviPay, we can make that happen. So yeah, really simply, just send me an email, trent@divipay.com.
Okay, that sounds great. I will put that in with the recording. So we'll put the recording on the website as usual. I'll put Trent's email in there for future reference. Not everyone will get onto this straight away. I know, might be a month or more before we get around to that after we deal with our December baskets. All right, any final questions from anybody?
Hopefully that was clear, Ed.
Yeah, that's great. Great overview. And fantastic that there's a partner program that supports the bookkeepers and accounting technicians.
100%. That's definitely been my space for the last little while. So I know how powerful and important it is to equip our accounting and bookkeeping partners, and there's no better way to do that than to let you access it all and play around with it yourselves. So yeah, thanks for coming along. I hope you've enjoyed it. Feel free to leave a comment in the chat and just say if that was helpful or useful. I definitely recommend checking out the website as well if you need, divipay.com. But otherwise, yeah, Joe, thanks for having me along. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Trent. Thanks so much for that great overview, and thanks for joining us. People, we will see you next month. Sorry, I have not got in front of me who is on next month, but it'll be somebody fabulous. Thanks, Trent. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, guys.
The current volume is 31%.